Stardate 06292021. That sounds right. Probably
Sure.
a 7 instead of a 6. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a kind of smart, kind of funny podcast all about classic Trek and new Trek. Today we're going to talk about some new Trek. But I am your reluctant captain, Mike Moody Garcia. With me on the view screen, we have
Mariah Gossett.
And Grant Davis.
Woo.
And Clyde is away today. He will be back next time. He'll definitely be back when we start covering Lower Decks, August 12th. Is that right, Mariah? August 12th?
Yep.
All right. So we didn't really have anything scheduled for this week, so we wanted just to come on and have a loose hang with everybody.
Is this a loose hang?
Is this a loose hang, baby?
This sounds pretty loose.
It's pretty loose. It's I'm not strapped down to my chair.
Do you need to be?
Perhaps. It's a loose hang. So everybody in the chat, if you're in the live chat, we do want you to participate. We're gonna be talking about the new Lower Decks season 2 trailer. Give our thoughts and opinions on that. Talking about the Prodigy season 1 trailer coming soon to Nickelodeon. It's gonna be in Paramount Plus too. We'll figure that out. We'll figure that shit out. Yeah, and
It's
we
all
want
happening.
your opinions too. We want your hot freaks on these trailers for sure. So please drop those in the chat and just converse with us about that. Let's see what else. I didn't do a rundown for this. Grant, what do you got to say?
I'm playing with the lights in the background while we're
chit-chatting. How about we remind folks that, especially during the off season, that our Patreon is a great place to go and hang out with us, because there are watch-alongs happening almost every single night, so you can be ready and all caught up for the new season of Lower Decks. And we've obviously been chit-chatting about all of the new Trek trailers to come out around Prodigy and Lower Decks. So definitely check out our Patreon.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
How about you tell them
Also-
how they can comment on things?
Yeah, if you are watching us live over on YouTube, which you should be, because it's a lot more fun that way, you can hit us up in the comments right here. Well, that's where we see it. Wait, it's probably like below for them on YouTube. I don't know. Anyway, when we see the comments, especially if you put the letters POD at the front, like for pod, as in podcast, as in Star Trek Discovery Pod, we see that, and it's just a little bit easier, because otherwise, people are shooting the shit and just chatting with each other over there. And if you want our attention, put POD. We'll see that, and we'll drop it on the screen. Especially if you have some nice insight or some hot freaks on what we're going to be discussing, including some upcoming trailers, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So go ahead, Mariah.
Oh, I was going to say also, if folks missed it last week, we dropped in the stream and on our YouTube channel our panel from the Women at Warp conference, which I've gotten a lot of nice compliments on. So I appreciate the feedback, y'all. I thought that was a really awesome panel, and I like chatting with you guys about getting maybe a little bit more emotional, more in depth on some Trek and how it makes us all feel. So that was nice. We were in the feels.
we got feedback on that?
Yeah. Julian from Strange New Pod gave us a nice shout out online. So I thought that was really sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That was a good discussion.
Yeah, that was really cool. Thanks. Shout out to Karen, one of our supporters, one of our patrons, for turning us on to that. And thanks to Mariah for doing all the legwork to get us on that festival. It was really fun. It was super cool to be part of the Women at Warp family for a day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a super
hopefully
fun
we can
time.
do it again next year. Hopefully they have another one.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. And
So
other
maybe we'll invite them to our podcast festival.
What?
Let's just have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mike Moody Garcia Podcast Festival starring Mike and friends.
Wow.
Mike and friends.
That's awesome. I'm sorry, Mariah, you're gonna have to do all the work again on it.
Produced by Mariah Gossett.
Woo! It would be a good
Co-starring
time.
Grant.
I don't know if y'all saw, but the
Star Trek?
the Star Trek, the conference in Chicago. I guess tickets just went on sale for that. So I don't know if folks are into that. I'm a little like wait and see. I had some people reach out asking if we were going to be attending, and I was like, that is a great question. But so if that's something y'all are interested in,
Mission Chicago.
yeah, Mission Chicago. It's in 2022, but I'm feeling weird about anything with a lot of people lately. So, but I would love to know what other people are thinking.
It has
TBD.
nothing to do with the pandemic either. It's just people are awful.
Yeah.
I mean, generally
TBD.
that could be pretty true, but yeah, TBD.
I haven't left this room in 2 years.
Same. I've only rearranged the same room, so it seems like there's a change in my life, even a little bit.
Everybody watching this pod's like, Mike, you're lying. That's a different room. You're always in another room. Yeah, I do know that our buddy from Text Trek, Stephen Fothery, is going to, I think he's still going to Mission Las Vegas, which is used to be called, Star Trek Las Vegas, but there's, I think it's called 55-year mission this year. Anyway, it's the big Star Trek conference they have every year in Las Vegas, and I told him to, after he is done with that, come on the show, tell us all about it. So hopefully we'll get a report from him. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
I know in our last show that we did, we talked about the Star Trek community, and I was saying how I feel very welcomed by them, by our particular community. I don't know about going to a convention though. That kind of weirds me out. I think that audience might be a bit more extreme.
No. I think it'll be a love fest. All the tweets and instas that I see from these festivals are just so positive, and podcasters that show up at these festivals, like I see podcasters tweet like people like come up to me and recognize my voice. Like it's wild. I think they would definitely recognize your voice.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I don't know. I get intimidated by the idea that anyone might think I am an expert in anything.
Vicky says you're scared.
I am. No, it's true though. I think that I do a lot of podcasts where I am opinionated. Having opinions is easy, but don't ever call me an expert or have any expectation that I know what I'm talking about, because I don't think I know what I'm talking about.
No, nobody sees you as the expert here. Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Choopy says, Grant, I'm told that con attendees love to see new people.
Oh,
you're a new person.
They'll
love to see you.
Brand spanking new baby.
PW Gregory. Grant going to a Star Trek convention? There's no turning back from that. That's true.
I know. That's like the only, I have this like weird ingrained motivator that I want to get Grant at like a Trek con of some sort, because I think it would be, I think it would be an experience. Also, we love dressing up in really bad costumes.
I would definitely dress up.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's go around before we jump into the Prodigy and the what's the other show called?
Lower Decks
trailer. I'm a professional. Let's go around the virtual room. Who would you guys cosplay as?
Oh, and in the chat, let us know what you would dress up as.
What will you cosplay as at a TrekCon?
That's
who wants to go?
I mean, I like the idea of not being like bogged down in something that's like too warm or a bunch of like face paint that like you get sweaty. I just always find there's so many people that makes it hot and I'm gonna sweat a bunch. But I also really like something that makes me tall. So parts of so I can see over other people. I have a little man complex. So part of that makes me think, okay, I want to be Saru. And I want to wear like stilts so I can walk around and sashay my arms behind my body. But then again, I don't want to wear like the Saru head because I'll get too warm. Maybe a tribble. Maybe I'll just wear a bunch of like just some fur.
That would be kind of iconic.
The giant tribble.
Yeah, I think I would either maybe do like a trill, just because like that's like some fun makeup that's not like super intense, or I was like, it would be kind of fun to go as Tendi and do like the full green.
See, that's intense.
Face paint. But it's like, if you're going to go for it, you should go for it. And then I feel like the easy one with my hair would be to go as Tilly, but I could easily dye it red.
You could dye it red. Yeah.
I can definitely see you being Tilly there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I used to dye my hair red in college a lot, so it would be a pretty easy transition.
Oh, really? Do you have
Mhm.
pictures? I want to see those.
Yeah, I used to dye my hair crazy colors in my youths. At one point, I used to have it went from like dark purple to dark red to orange, and I would like tie it up into
Whoa.
like a curl hawk.
You were like a clown. Sorry.
I did perform at like a circus themed show once as a clown, but like it was like a sexy clown.
It's like,
Oh,
how dare you?
obvious.
But also accurate in a way. Yeah.
I used to have it all in high school at Billy Idol blonde for a while. Then I had it all red because I watched My So-Called Life, and I was like, I'm sad like Angela Chase. And then and then I had it all green, and then all black.
What
And-
would you dress up as, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, I have it on the screen here. I would dress up as this would be my cosplay.
That would be
Kirk from Star Trek
great.
5 with the flap on the uniform open. He's wearing jeans and his hiking boots with a t-shirt that says "Go climb a rock." And then I would definitely get that wig that he's wearing because he is wearing a wig.
Mhm,
That would
mhm.
be my costume. I think it would just be it would be real like
It would be
I
comfortable.
would really want to wear like a uniform, but then those uniforms, like the cast, I don't care what show we're talking about. Every show, the cast is like the uniforms sucked. They're so uncomfortable. But Kirk here, Shatner, in the movie he directed, spends half the movie with the uniform just wide open with a t-shirt underneath with
It's more like a
blue
jacket.
jeans.
Yeah. Like a
With blue-
smoking jacket at that
Yeah,
point.
so it's like a smoking jacket. So I think he knows what's up. So
Super
that's what I
chill.
would do. Super chill.
We got some comments here. Lisa says I'd cosplay as Livingston Picard. I don't know who that is. Who's Livingston Picard?
Livingston Picard.
That's a good question. I
Is
like
it
to picture
Jean-Luc's like child?
That sounds really familiar. Oh, it's Picard's fish.
Oh.
Awesome.
That's great. That's good.
Homesicky says I'd want to be Deanna Troy, but that's an old trope.
I mean, a cat suit's fun. You know, don't gotta worry
There are
about
many
too much.
different variations of Troy.
Mhm.
PW Gregory says Vulcan is a safe bet. Yeah, I mean, just throw on some ears, I guess, and maybe like brush your eyebrows up. Are there like
I'd wanna be a
Slender Man
Vulcan.
type characters, like some really just tall people?
Yeah.
In the universe of Trek, are there tall people aside from Saru?
I'm trying to think of any that are like notably tall.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not that it comes to
Rikers,
mind.
the Rikers are pretty tall. Well, the
Yeah.
one Riker.
The
Actually,
one
there's two.
Riker.
Thomas
That's
and
true.
The
and
fish.
Lisa.
John. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be Saru. I don't want to do all the face makeup. That's
Well,
and
maybe they make it like as a mask and you can just like pop it on, you know?
a hoodie. I just have a Saru hoodie where
You
pull
zip
down
up.
your face.
I think the worst costumes are just masks, right? Like put makeup on or something. Like just
Yeah.
go buying a mask.
What about just a Shatner mask? Paint it white and then
and then murder a bunch of people in your
murder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, original TOS Harry Mudd would be really fun because he wears outrageous outfits.
Yeah. Lise says Harry Mudd was tall.
Rainn Wilson's tall.
Is he?
Yeah, he doesn't look it because he's his face seems like maybe he's not tall.
Home Chickie is reminding me of La Boxana's Troy's manservant. He was like a super tall dude. He was played by this one actor who God, he's in a bunch of stuff, and the only reason they put him in TV shows and movies is because he's like 7'5". He's so tall.
You could also do, is The Rock tall? The Rock is in an episode of Voyager.
I have a theory that The Rock is like 5'2". And just super wide.
Have you seen the conspiracy theory about Joe Rogan that he's like 5 foot tall and
He's
like
5'6". He's actually 5'6".
people keep
Wow, I'm taller than
photoshopping
Joe
him
Rogan.
smaller and smaller in these photos? I love it.
So apparently The Rock is 6'5". So that is a very tall person.
That is okay. I
No,
could
the
I could
internet
just be The
lies.
Rock and be like, I think he was in an episode, guys. I'm tall, Grant.
I remember meeting you guys know Jason Schwartzman from Rushmore.
Mhm.
I met him when Rushmore came out, and he came to UT to do like a premiere, and he was 5'2", Like he came up to my nose, and so was Eddie Vedder. I met Eddie Vedder once, and he is tiny.
Most
He
celebrities are
came up
very
to my
small.
nose. I was like, oh my god, you have such a presence. Like Jason Schwartzman looked short, so yeah, but Vedder was tiny. I was like, dude, I love you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of maybe small in stature but not in personality, do we want to talk about some of these animated show trailers?
Wow.
That
What
was a real hard
segue.
turn.
That was a segue. I love it.
Yes, Mariah, I think we are all super excited about Lower Decks coming back August 12th because we will be covering every single episode. But I guess, do you want to do some hot frakes on the Lower Decks season 2 trailer?
Let's do it.
I don't really want to play it here because we might, I don't know. Last time we played it, we got like a copyright strike. But let's
Are we going to play our hot freak sound though?
Hey,
Is that going to happen?
Just relax. Like
Thank
that?
you.
I was like, where's the button?
Just
Shut up, Mariah.
just relax.
Find the
I'm
button.
gonna play it.
Just relax.
I'm gonna play it. Hang on.
Wow. Yeah.
Grant Davis.
You want me to go first?
I do, because this is your favorite Star Trek show.
It
Lower Decks.
looks super exciting. Once again, I'm not sure how long they're going to spend with the breakup of Mariner and Boimler being on two different ships. I hope it isn't too long. It looks like it seems like they're back together pretty quick because of the scenes that we're seeing already in this episode. A lot of the same humor. It's very quick-witted and silly, and there's some references in there I'm sure that tickle you guys that just go completely over my head. But that said, it just looks like another wild ride in the show, and I'm wondering how much they're going to be focused on the heart of it, because we got some really great character arcs in the first season, especially with Mariner, and I don't know if they'll be able to make as big of a swing in the second season, but maybe.
What makes you think that they might not get so emotional with it?
Well, I mean, they've explored that territory, with Mariner, and now that we know, the relationship between her and her mother as well. It looks like they're going to be kind of playing off of that with the tension, and yet there's still kind of this maternal protectiveness and this child's love and defiance, and how they kind of toggle between those. I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go. I do hope that they have a lot of the heart and there is a bit more of an arc that pays off. That was kind of my complaint through the first half of the first season, if not more than the first half.
Yeah, I think they are going to pull off the heart that we want, based on, I don't know if you watched the Comic-Con panel where they revealed this trailer, but I think the trailer looks fun. It's got a bunch of the fun laugh moments. I'm really excited for Tom Paris as a plate to be talking to Boimler while he's hallucinating in a Jeffries tube.
Who's that? Who is Tom Paris? I didn't get that part.
He's from Voyager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
the actor is super beloved also in the fandom because he hosts a great podcast with Garrett Wang, who was also in Voyager, and they cover like every episode of Voyager, and they get the whole cast to reminisce about the show. It's really
Does hosting a podcast make you beloved?
Obviously.
Obviously. You're still here. But yes, Robert Duncan McNeil will be making some appearances that I'm really stoked about. I also think on and we can talk about the Comic-Con panel later after we kind of hot freak the trailer, but yeah, I mean, all of the punchlines are fun. There's some great little references. There's a ton of voice actors making appearances that I think are going to be really fun guest stars. I I think I fall more and more in love with Tawny Newsome as Mariner with like every moment that that character is occurring. So I'm really excited to see where everybody goes. I also think it's fun that Eugene Cordero has like essentially showed up at like every fandom. Like he is like the trifecta of fandom now because he was in Loki, he's in Star Trek, and he was in he's in The Mandalorian. So he's like he's hit all of them. So like way to go, dude.
Yeah, he's gonna be like in the next Ninja Turtles movie, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I love this trailer. I mean, I'm with Home Chicky. We see a bunch of Riker in this trailer, which is cool because Jonathan Frakes coming back and leaning more into the comedic side of Riker, obviously. I listened to an interview a while back with Mike McMahon, the creator of Lower Decks, and a question was put to him like, everything we see about Riker on the Titan, is that actually canon? Is that how Riker acts during like? And he was just like, I don't know, man. He's funny. Like he was like, just yes. Let's just say the events that happen in Lower Decks with Riker are canon, but maybe that's how they happen in my mind because my mind's funnier. Maybe you have your own headcanon on how exactly it happened. But all I can say is that Jonathan Frakes really leans into the comedy, and the more we can get on him, get from him on this show, the better. Also, the same with Marina Sirtis, who has become this like really great low key comedian in the past like couple decades. I think all that started with her role in First Contact, the movie First Contact. She had some really great comedic, like acerbic scenes in that, and the good Star Trek movies have kind of like played into that. So I think that's going to be fun too, watching their dynamic together on this show. And I actually don't mind that Boimler and Mariner are separated for a while. It doesn't seem like they'll be separated that long if we're looking at this trailer, but I kind of like the idea of having like A plot, B plot, and C plot, and sometimes the A plot is on Riker's ship with Boimler, and sometimes maybe that's the B plot. It'll follow like just a regular sitcom kind of act structure that way. And once they get back together, it'll be great. Also, I like seeing Boimler in that cool like First Contact style uniform. It's my favorite. The grays. It's my favorite uniform. But what I've heard Mike Mann say about this season is that they're going to go a lot more acerbic with the comedy, but also they are going to give us a lot more story, character story. So we'll get to know these characters. He wants us to really, just like us as podcasters are beloved to the fans. He wants to make these characters that he's created really beloved to the fandom. So that's his goal here, to make us laugh and to make us love these characters. So I think we'll go pretty deep with these characters this season.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think so on the Comic-Con panel, they sort of talked about, now that Mariner and her mom's secret is like out, right? Like that we now know this relationship exists and like more of the crew know that it exists. They're definitely going to be playing into how that relationship evolves in that manner. And like Tawny Newsome talked about how she has a friend who was in like a punk band who then had kids. And then the kid was like, I'm going to rebel. And you know what I'm going to do? Be in a punk band. And it's like, that's not how you rebel in that system. And so it's like sort of a similar relationship between Mariner and the captain and sort of how they have to navigate, like, how do you rebel while still being a Starfleet officer and like trying to figure out what that like relationship looks like moving forward. So I'm excited to see that. I also just thought if other folks watch the panel, they all just like make fun of Jerry O'Connell the entire time. And it is like their full like chemistry as a cast is really fun, especially considering like they're all just voice acting, right? Like they probably, especially through the pandemic, very rarely probably got to do any voice acting together, but somehow that like camaraderie is all still there. And I guess Jack Quaid is now going to be voicing a Batman character in an upcoming animated show, and Jerry O'Connell has voiced Batman in a bunch of animated stuff. And so I'm just like, oh, this is like so fun to see all of these people like moving in and out of these different animated projects together, and like how their relationship as like a cast also continues to grow, which I think will be able to feel on screen as well, that like chemistry is there.
I hope we see more guests like Paul F. Tompkins back. I don't think they've announced a guest cast list, but there's
They
so many great comedians that do such good voice work that are kind of a part of that kind of Tawny Newsom, Paul F. Tompkins kind
Mhm.
of UBC crew that they could just mine from. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I can't remember now. During Comic-Con, they did drop like at least one person who's guest voicing, because I guess it's the person who's playing the new security officer, but now I
Right.
cannot remember. Um, but yeah, they keep all of the secrets, so they're just like there'll be some fun surprises beyond just
It,
like who we see is coming like in the trailer, and some other like traditional Trek characters will also be popping up along the way too. So that's really fun.
is the new security officer the Temerian, the one who
Mhm.
speaks in like allegory
Yes.
from the from the
They
referencing the
essentially
Darmok episode from TNG, like one of the best episodes? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
they're like essentially they were like the meme like bots on Twitter before
Yes.
there were meme
Yeah,
bots
yeah.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, they're
security
characters that
officer, he's got a sash on and he's got a knife like held in the front of his sash. Too.
yeah.
I'm looking through. People were calling me out like, "Why is Grant looking down so much?" I was looking through a bunch of still shots uh, of the trailer to kind of remind myself, or like, see little deeper details that I'd
Mhm.
missed.
Oh,
Yeah,
real
they
quick, Choopy says that they have Dr. Moogly, Paul F. Tompkins, on the bridge in this trailer. I didn't notice that. Maybe he's the new Troy.
perhaps.
Is
I
he the
would love that.
bird? He's the
Yeah.
duck
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You see him with the new security officer.
Yeah, they also mentioned that the ship is going to go through quite a lot of turmoil this season. So I think that'll be interesting to see how
And
they treat the ship.
and the
Something I was excited about that I saw in the trailer. There's a scene where Mariner and Tendi are in this pool hall, and there's a bunch of really tall looking, predator looking dudes. I guess they're
Mhm.
Nausicaans. And
yes.
he sucker punches them and runs. And I know what that reference was to now because I saw the Q episode.
From
Um,
Tapestry. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
They're
I
the ones
didn't
that
know the name of the episode, but I did recognize. I was like, that's what Picard did. And then he got shanked.
It's
yep.
working, Mike. It is working.
Is this what happens? Damn it.
Mhm.
You could
It
be a
is.
Nausicaan. There you go.
Yeah, they're tall, but once again, you can't be tall and you still have to wear a bunch of stuff on your face.
Very true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't want that. I want
Need a
Slender
buffer.
Man. There's got to be a Slender Man in there.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm overall I'm really excited. Apparently Shax is in like a couple of shots in the trailer, our old security
Yeah.
officer, so I don't know if that means he survived or if they're like memories or flashbacks that are happening, as far as scenes go, so I guess
Or
we'll see.
I
or
bet it's a
time
flashback.
travel.
Or what?
Time travel.
Or time travel. We do love a good time travel plot line.
It's Star Trek. There's got to be time travel.
That's very true.
I mean,
Oh,
I have some questions. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, Choopy says, Grant, I'm telling you, you need to cosplay as Boimler. You love Boimler.
Do I dye my hair like a purplish color?
I mean,
Yes.
didn't you bleach it for like a Riddler costume not too long ago?
Did. That was last Halloween. I bleached it. So why not?
Just go full force into
Yeah.
a Boimler costume.
I noticed both in this and not to jump too far ahead, but the other trailer for Prodigy, so a lot of like gelatinous looking aliens. I don't recall seeing any gelatinous aliens yet in Trek, but they sure are popping up where it's easier to animate them, I guess.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, it makes sense that there would be, I mean, just think about Earth and how many gelatinous creatures live on this planet. So it's like, I
I'm
think
one of
out in space, there would be some of those types of creatures. And yeah, I think it does make more sense production wise. Actually, technically on Discovery, we had those crazy worms, the trance worms.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a slimy creature.
They're slimy.
Yeah. But
Doesn't
I
count
mean,
though.
I'm fine to jump over to Prodigy because I would like all of the Murph merchandise as much as possible. That tiny, weird, multicolored creature is the cutest thing I've ever heard on a show,
Yeah.
and I want all of the merch.
Hold on. We're gonna talk about Prodigy.
We get another one.
Yeah.
You were going. Give me your hot break on this Prodigy trailer.
I was so pleasantly surprised by this trailer because I think when I first heard like Nickelodeon kids Trek,
Mhm.
um my spouse described it. We were like, it's that worry that the music cues are going to be those like doop 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 doop, like we're a funny kid show versus like this one is like full orchestra, some references to the Voyager soundtrack. Like to me, this feels like it's the presentation is made friendly for kids, but it feels like a show that adults are going to actually like enjoy watching, which is exciting to me. Um, and the animation was beautiful. It's not like it sort of reminds me of the Clone Wars style sort of animation, but like, different enough that it feels kind of fresh, especially in like the animation stuff that we've been seeing coming out, which all is sort of in that like I don't know, everything either looks like Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty, or Family Guy, right? Like those are like our prime animated content at the moment. So it's really nice to see something be so different. So I'm excited about it.
I'm pretty excited about it too. I had the same thought when Prodigy was announced, and it was announced that it was going to be targeting the Ute market, the children's.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll watch it. It'll be fun, but I was not excited about it at all. But one, the idea that it's a new story, right? It's not like I love Lower Decks, and it is a new story, but it's really mining a lot of nostalgia,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it does it in a fun, new way. But with this, it's a new story, brand new characters, um, set in a part of space that even though Voyager was set there, we didn't really spend a lot of time in, and seeing a cast full of new aliens that we've never really seen before, and a new look, a new feel, and from a different perspective, right? These aren't Starfleet officers.
Mm-hmm.
These are just random kids who stumble across a starship, and the connection to old Trek is there. It's not so heavy, but it is there with the Janeway hologram and with you know a a, a Starfleet vessel. So we have our comfort there, but they're going to take us on a whole new adventure, a whole new ride. So that's exciting. Also, this the animation looks pretty amazing, and just the scope of the production looks very ambitious and really cool. I think like Discovery kind of took its visual cues from blockbuster action movies. This seems to be really taking its visual cues from Pixar movies,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is amazing. So seeing something like that on TV every week, and it's Star Trek, yeah, I think I'm a little more excited about it now after seeing this trailer. So yeah, I think before I said, maybe we'll cover the premiere, but no, we're gonna cover it all, every single episode,
Yeah. What
right
do you
here.
think about that, Grant?
Yeah,
Uh, I'm a little mixed on it. I don't know. I
Hmm.
watching the trailer, I can appreciate the style of the animation as being like a nice quality, but for me, my personal aesthetic, it doesn't really hit that. Um, I think that's kind of why I veer away from ever watching like Star Wars Rebels as well. Like it does feel like that. I think it's just something about um the fusion of 3D animation and kids. It's just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of weirds me out, um especially since my kids watch some other cartoons that also fall in that line and I never seem to like them.
Mm.
That said, I really like the premise for this, that a group of of smart kind of runaway kids stumble upon a crashed Federation starship that has the embodiment of Janeway in it. And I'm not sure when this is supposed to take place. This could take place thousands of years in the future after Janeway is dead and she just lives on as an educational program, right, on another Federation ship. But that kind of concept is already super cool. Like, the ideals of the Federation could still live on and become an influence that could start with these kids and then kind of propagate throughout the galaxy once again if a lot of that has kind of fallen by the wayside in this time period. But then again, I could be getting way ahead of myself because we don't have a whole lot. This is just a little teaser trailer. Seeing some of the other aliens that I didn't really recognize. I wasn't sure if you guys were recognizing any of them. It doesn't sound like you are either, which kind of makes me think, once again, that this is taking place in a whole nother era of Trek. I like the concept. I will get over my qualms with the animation style, but could be cool.
Yeah, I think again, like this cast, especially for voice cast, I felt like at the Comic-Con panel had like really good chemistry. Everyone seems to just be really excited about the project. There's some like newer voice talent, which I'm excited about, like folks getting an opportunity. There's also some classics, like D. Bradley Baker, who's playing Murph, who can just make like outrageous sound effects with his mouth. It's insane. Like on the panel, they make him do like a Murph impression, and it's like the strangest thing I've ever seen, but I'm really excited about it.
Do it. What does it sound like?
I can't do it.
Does it sound like this? Jup, jup, jup.
No, he made like all these weird like sounds. Like
there you go. There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Coming for you, D. Bradley Baker. And then
beloved.
Then there's like, Jason Mantzoukas, who's like a classic voice actor at this point, who plays like a lot of great curmudgeon-y characters. So it's essentially, I mean, they joked on the panel, Jason Mantzoukas is like, oh yeah, I'm the only person who is actually live action in this show. Didn't have to do anything. And then they all just also made fun of Jerry O'Connell the whole time because he was hosting the panel, and we're just like, oh, but you're from Lower Decks and we're from Prodigy, like essentially being like, we are the superior animated show. Also because there's Kate Mulgrew playing Janeway, and Jerry O'Connell somehow managed to call her Vice Lieutenant instead of Vice Admiral in his introduction. So he never lived it down. And then during the panel itself, Rebecca Romaine and Ethan Peck walked in the background because I guess they had been rehearsing a scene for Strange New Worlds. And so they like walked into the office. His kids kept walking in to get like cats and animals. And so it was a perfect amount of comedy chaos. So
was Kate Mulgrew on this panel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the one who mostly made fun of him, as she does.
Nice.
How did you feel about bringing back Janeway in this form?
She's really excited about it because she's kind of like, it is a new generation. None of these are Starfleet folks. Like, these are not Starfleet officers. These aren't Starfleet trainees. And so it's sort of like she feels like it's a nice gesture of this character who gets to kind of bring these kids along for the ride. She's really stoked with the way that the animation makes the character look. She's just like, she's beautiful. She's talented. She's wonderful. So she seems really excited to be involved in the project.
Were there any nuggets like maybe plot spoilers or anything that they talked about? Probably not, right?
Not really. They mostly just did more like character introductions for everybody. So everyone got to talk a little bit about like how they identify with their characters, what's similar, what's not similar. They had like the big rock looking dude is apparently is played by the youngest member of the cast. Like, she's actually a child, like she's like 9 or 10 years old. So it's like an actual kid voice coming out of this really large character, which I think will it's like a fun little bait and switch, right? Like, you're assuming this is going to be like a big booming voice of a person, and then it's like, a tiny human voicing it.
Not one of these voices. It's
No.
one of these voices.
Sort
Hey,
of,
I'm a
yes.
rock man. No, it's me. I'm a rock man.
Yeah.
I had a question for both of you.
Mhm.
Now that we've seen this trailer, and I don't know if I'm reading into it incorrectly, with the idea that this might take place way in the future, but we have also seen way in the future with Discovery, season 3. I was kind of wondering what your thoughts are of how they've decided in the larger Trek expanded universe to kind of portray the future of Starfleet, that it kind of eventually collapses and it can't sustain, and then maybe becomes a little bit of this kind of ancient relic, especially if that's what Prodigy is also kind of falling on the heels of.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you guys kind of think of that? Because it feels to me that Starfleet is established as this this ideal utopia, this concept that should take hold and embolden and empower people across the universe. But they're saying that eventually that falls. Anyway, so yeah, what up with the
Yeah.
future of Starfleet?
I'm of two minds of it, but I really think that it all comes down to um, where what the motivation is in the writers' room for that. What is the motivation behind um, depicting the far future of Star Trek as, the Federation maybe is things became a little darker. Not everything worked out. Things became a little more dystopian somehow. Uh, and if the impetus for depicting it that way is to build up the ideals of the Federation again, and to show that process and to try and inspire characters on screen and also inspire people watching, saying, here's how we fell, here's how we get back up by uh, returning to the ideals of the Federation and to Starfleet, and also adding some new concepts and ideals to that so that it has a stronger foundation. This is how we live now. This is how we move out of the dystopian era by really sticking to what Star Trek is all about. Then that is fine, and I think that's what's happening. I think that's kind of what we've seen in Discovery season 3. We've seen some of that in the first season of Picard, where it seemed like the dystopia was really a heavy vibe there. But as we got towards the end of that series, that's kind of where the theme went, right?
Hmm.
It felt more like um, let's weed out some of the darker elements in Starfleet, and let's let's inspire people to be like the Starfleet of old a little bit. And it's just a story thing. They got to have some conflict. They got to make things, it just can't be a utopia, because you're not going to have some conflict. You're not going to have engaging stories that way, right? So it's a mixed bag. Like, it would take a really inventive team of writers to make some really engaging stories in a setting in which nothing a setting in which it's been a utopia for eons, right? So, and I think I think Isla agrees.
Yeah, my kiddo just decided to sneak under the table and then popped out here, and I was like, what's going on?
But yeah,
what you
it's a
said.
mixed bag.
Yeah, I think they really drove home the fact that this show is canon during the Comic-Con panel, because I know that is constantly a question.
But is it canon, bro?
Yeah, that happens in some corners of the internet about new Star Trek. And there's some discussion going on in the chat about this potentially sort of being around the same timeline as Picard. So after Romulus's destruction. So I don't know if they're going to be picking up directly after Romulus' destruction, or if it's going to be like a few decades later, like Picard is. So it'll be interesting to see how they're lining up that timeline. But that would sort of make sense if we're perhaps in the same place where Janeway is an admiral at this point, maybe going towards the end of her career, that this hologram would be placed on a ship that's like going out in some way, shape, or form to go do something, and then is stranded somewhere for these kiddos to find. But I agree with you, Mike, on like how it's all going to depend on what the writers want to do with that concept of like ideals versus dystopia, and what these characters are sort of facing within their own lives. I get the vibe that Doll, the character Doll, is perhaps from a planet that deteriorated or something happened to it and is now having to find a new home. That seems to be something that I picked up on in the trailer. But again, who knows? It's just a teaser. Like at this point, it's just like, here's some animation and some sounds from all of these characters. Right. Yeah. So there's not too much to pick up on, but the cast and crew seem really excited about it and about the way that they think this is going to engage both young and current audiences. So I feel like thus far I've enjoyed almost all the new Trek. So I'm excited to see what they come up with.
And it's unclear when this series takes place, Prodigy, but it is clear where it takes place. It takes place in the Delta Quadrant, which is, in all the Star Trek we've seen, the Delta Quadrant is pretty much untouched by the Federation because it's so far away. The only Federation vessel, I'm sure there were others, but the only major Federation vessel that's been out there was Voyager's, because they got zapped over there from some space monster. I know that's wrong.
A wormhole.
And yeah, and they were lost, and they were trying to get back home because it takes almost 100 years to get over there. So really what we're seeing is likely a bunch of characters who never heard of the Federation, and who will learn about it when they discover this ship, and will be inspired by the story of the Federation and Starfleet.
Is there some sort of is it established in this universe how common it is for life, let alone evolved life, to exist within the universe? Like, is it per like every single like solar system that you can generally find life on, or is it like every few galaxies that you might find sentient life? Like, do you guys get like a kind of a sense of how dense and how many variations of intelligent species there are? Because
not really.
I get like, okay, there's Borg, there's Ferengi, there's Klingon, and the other dudes, Romulans and whatnot. I named a bunch.
I mean,
we do know that the Alpha Quadrant, which is where Earth is,
I think Borg is not an alien. Now that I think about it,
we do know that the Alpha Quadrant is filled with all the races or aliens that you just mentioned, but there's not really a Star Trek Bible about like how life is spread out throughout the multiverse or whatever. I think it's really just, what do we need for today's story?
Yeah. I mean, the whole concept, right, of like the original series is that these ships go on these like 5-year long extended missions to find new life. So like the basic premise is we have no idea. We're going out to figure it out at like its root core of the whole series. And I think the reason they use the quadrants as a way to divide it up is because like the quadrants are like massive. So it seems like there's way more characters to play with when you're like, oh, there's 5 different, alien species that live in this quadrant, which sounds like a lot, but then you think about the possible size of a quadrant, right? So, I mean, like even I'm trying to think of like in actual scientific terms, like what the closest planet is that could potentially sustain life that we know of, like as planet Earth. And I know it's like however many thousands of millions of light years away, right?
Like 14 light years away is like what Alpha Centauri is, and that potentially could have life around there. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to kind of think about they've established that they can travel light speed, warp speed, or whatever, and they can cover a lot of distance here in this universe. Presumably going to a whole bunch of different star systems, but like how dense is intelligent life, and how many of these intelligent lives are at a point where you can make first contact, and then how many of those are friendly and you can fold them into the to the Federation. Just because there's also the dark forest theory that like uh when you go out into space, it's quiet and we've never run into other intelligent life because everyone's hiding, because if there's a bigger bad, that bigger bad, if you make a peep, they'll wipe you out. I mean, before you could potentially wipe them out. That's why there is no sign of intelligent life, because everyone is just shutting up in the dark forest that is space. That's one of those things of like, there could be someone that's so advanced and like a technological threat that they could wipe you out, and the vastness of space, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like a thing on TikTok that was like, what creature on Earth is not actually from Earth and is the alien that's like keeping an eye on our planet? And the two most compelling ones I saw were octopus and then cats.
Okay.
But yeah, so Proxima B is apparently the planet that's the next like star system along from us that is like the closest to Earth like that we know about, and it's 4 light years away, which doesn't sound that far, but then like light years are like we have not reached that speed yet. we haven't even hit Mars with people yet. So
Chippy says in Star Trek they just always say there are thousands of intelligent species. And yeah, that's true. And Ramble Ron reminds us that there are a lot of non-spacefaring civilizations in Star Trek, and that's why we have the Prime Directive.
I mean, when you think about the comparison that astronomers always make, that there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on the planet, and that's just stars, let alone planets that orbit those that could potentially have life, and you just like exponentially grow that out, and that's even in the visible like galaxy, right? It's just bonkers to think of how extremely massive space is, and that it makes sense, I guess, in a way that there are so many different avenues that you could explore with storylines out in space with aliens, especially when you just kind of ditch humans. But also just looking at how the Federation could be just a blip, it could have its existence, and the vastness of space could just swallow that up too.
yeah,
We're also insignificant, is my point.
I mean, there's
very
also
true. And it's like it's a storyteller's dream, right? Space is full of millions of potential new life forms and stories. Yeah.
A bunch of alien monkeys at typewriters who are making stories.
There's also in Voyager, there is the storyline about like a different dimension of space where it's like liquid space, and it's like the only species that can that the Borg is like afraid of, right?
Fluidic space.
Fluidic space, that's right. And
it's
so
called the fluidic space, Miranda.
Oh, thank you. But then there's that possibility as well of like, then we also have the Mirrorverse. There's so many potential like potential ways that all of this can happen, and so many places to explore. So I mean, to bring it back to Prodigy, like I'm really excited that we're getting to see a bunch of new characters and a bunch of new aliens, because it's like, yeah, like why are we, I mean, it's fun to revisit the classics, like I am hoping maybe we get to see some Klingons in season 4 of Discovery, just because I don't think we've seen any yet in the future. So I want to know what's going on with them. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited about it all the way around.
Ramble Ron says more advanced civilizations will wipe you out is a colonial idea.
True.
Fair, I guess. I don't know. I think it's interesting the theory of why it's so quiet in space, despite our ideas that there should be, a cacophony of noises and signals. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the idealized space is that we're all just around to help each other advance in technology and to like be better societies moving forward. But it's like, even, I mean, we've talked about so much or at least I've seen in like the scientific and space exploration community, right? Is like the concept of finding life on other planets is like hopefully this humanity unifying moment. And so far it's like, oh, we found bacteria on Mars, and like, oh, now like even the US government has admitted there's unidentifying flying objects, whatever those could be. Are they from space? Are they from another country? Who knows? But it's like, even with these little glimmers, it feels like everyone is still just so trapped within the confines of like white supremacist colonial concepts of power structures that it's like very unfortunate that we're not just like, oh yes, we are all humanity, right? Like we are a global community.
It's all secrets and lies. We got this comment here from Jude Beacon who says, a quadrant is 1/4 of the Milky Way galaxy, which, judging by the amount of species we see in the Alpha Quadrant, means intelligent life is pretty dense in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That
makes sense because they got to tell stories, right? They
Mm-hmm.
got to populate these worlds with interesting characters, and I think that's what we're seeing in Prodigy. We're going to see a whole different part of, and I think what I've heard is that we're going to see mainly parts of the Delta Quadrant that we didn't see before on Voyager. So that's why we see aliens that we've never seen before. So we're going to be exposed to more strange new worlds.
Right. Oh, did y'all see the preview? Or it wasn't a preview, but some set photos came out from Strange New Worlds of like the teleporter and stuff.
Oh, the transporter. Yeah. It looked like the transporter, and people got mad.
I don't know.
Home Chicky says, outside of our galaxy, how many galaxies are there? I was curious. So I looked it up. Four. The answer is 4. It is within our visible universe, there are 2 trillion at least galaxies.
That was close.
Bonkers. You were very close though. You were very close. Space is big, I guess.
And it's ever expanding.
Like,
it keeps getting bigger. That's the other thing, is like we literally can't hit the limitations thus far with like our mathematics.
For other people, it's so big. Maybe that's all it is.
Would you guys go to space if Jeff Bezos offered you a chair on his flight?
If it meant I could deny other people like food, yes.
What?
No, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I mean, yes, I would love to go to space, though. In all honesty, that'd be awesome.
I know people who would just find it so frightening, the vastness of it, that they would just freak out.
I mean, in a concept, yes, I'd love to go to space. As like an ethical person, I would not want to go to space with Jeff Bezos, just because I think he's spending his money in ways that is unnecessary.
What if Tawny Newsom was like, "Hey, y'all, all my best buds and podcasters who are beloved get to come on my spaceship."
So beloved. We're so beloved.
I mean, I don't know. I have very complicated feelings about it, because like I'm all for space exploration for the advancement of like science that is doing things that help for the betterment for the future of humanity, right? Like that's all great. But it's also like we still don't have fucking universal healthcare in this country. So I'm just like, maybe we could spend our money in other places. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's solve all that first, and then let's go find Romulus or whatever.
Right. Because it seems that's the other thing is, right, it's like this idealized world. Like we've moved past capitalism in Star Trek. So it's like we obviously have not hit that point, y'all. Like we have not hit anywhere near close to that.
Just get rid of capitalism, and then all of a sudden it's Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a concept.
I'm skeptical, but I'm okay with getting rid of capitalism.
Yeah. What a world.
So anyway, welcome to Socialist Pod.
Star Trek Socialist Pod.com.
I mean, we're fan of Star Trek, I feel like, anyway,
Yeah. It's
come on now.
It's the same thing. We will be covering Lower Decks on August 12th. It's going to be Thursdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And Prodigy is going to come out later this year, confirmed 2021. I thought it was next year, but it's going to be this year. And I do want to cover all of those. So Clyde is gonna join us again next time. He'll be here for the lower decks coverage, hopefully for the Prodigy coverage. We might have some guests on coming up. Should be fun. We might still be covering some Q episodes down the line in between now and August 12th. Listeners, patrons, if you have ideas for episodes that we can do to fill in the off-season time, we'd love to hear 'em. Let us know.
Awesome. So yeah, you should definitely join us over on the Patreon as well, because especially during this off season, we have tons of watch along parties going on over there, discussions about all of the latest news. And for $2 an episode, you get access to the Slack, which has some of the best people in it. So you definitely want to come join us over there. So that is patreon.com/Star Trek Pod.
Was there like a rundown I was supposed to look at and like bring up notes?
No, I just know it from memory, Grant.
Okay, cool.
Because we say it every week.
Then I'll just go ahead and say that, hey, I also do a couple other podcasts, including MCU Pod, if you want to go and check that out. We talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And right now we're a little bit on hiatus because Loki just ended. But What If comes back the day before Lower Decks. It comes back on the 11th. So we're going to be talking about that show as well.
Yeah.
Me and Mike do that, and that's a lot of fun. I also talk about craft beer if you want to hear dirty jokes and descriptions of beer. That's the beer. You can check that one out as well.
You can find us at StarTrekPod.co. Subscribe to the pod on Apple or whatever. Leave us a review.
If no one else is going to plug their stuff, then I just...
We like them 5 stars. What I do this. What else do I do? I don't know.
Oh, I can do a plug. So a podcast that I produce and edit for, FOGO, Fear of Going Outside from Spotify Studios. Our finale comes out next week. So you should go binge the first 9 episodes. If you are someone who is both a fan of the outdoors or a skeptic of the outdoors, I think you will enjoy this podcast experience. So FOGO.
I'll plug something. FOGO's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll plug something. I saw that movie about the beach that makes you old.
Oh, the M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Don't go watch that movie. That's what I'll plug.
All right.
You're going to plug staying at home instead of making those kind of choices.
Stay home and don't watch the movie about the beach that makes you old. I mean, watch it. I had a good time watching it because it's trash. But it's not good. Watch the Purge movies. Those are fun.
What?
Are they?
Have you seen them?
No.
They're all pro-socialist, pro-liberal, anti-Republican, like done in the dumbest way, but they're fun. So definitely watch them.
That is the strangest plug we've ever had at the end of a podcast, Mike.
StarTrekPod.co. Don't watch the movie about the beach that makes you old. Live long and prosper.
Bye.